Today we're going to be working on graphing parabolas in standard form. So we've already explored this a little bit. Today we're just going to practice. So just as a reminder, this is what standard form looks like. No parentheses, everything is fully simplified. We're still going to have this x squared, which lets us know it's going to make a parabola. And then a is the stretch. It's the coefficient of x squared. B, it doesn't tell us much, but it does have something to do with where the vertex is. That's always going to be the coefficient of x. And then C is our y-intercept, which is the constant, no variable attached. And what we learned is this nifty formula called the vertex formula, where if we take the opposite of B, so if it's positive, we make it negative, and if it's negative, we make it positive, and we divide that by 2 times whatever A is, we are going to get the axis of symmetry. And that tells us the x part of our vertex, which we can then plug back in to find the y value of the vertex. So we're going to go ahead and get started with a couple of examples, and I'd like you to follow along in your notes and get all this written down. So here's example 1. Here we have y equals x squared minus 4x. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what's A, what's B, and what's C. So I like to start like this. And then A is always the coefficient of x squared. It's invisible here, but there is a 1. B is the coefficient of x. Here's x. That's a negative 4. And C is missing. If a term is entirely missing, then it's going to be 0. There's no constant here, right? Adding plus 0 to the end wouldn't change the function. So that's going to be a 0. Now we're ready to use our vertex formula. So the vertex formula is x equals the opposite of whatever b is divided by 2 times whatever a is. So for this problem, since b is negative 4, I'm going to write positive 4 on the top. So this just means the opposite of b. This is negative, I write a positive. On the bottom, I'm going to do 2 times whatever a is, and in this case, a is 1. Don't type this straight into your calculator as 4 divided by 2 times 1. You will get the wrong answer. Actually, in this case, you won't. But in many cases, you will, because your calculator is going to do the division first. You want it to do the bottom first. So make sure you simplify the bottom. So this is 4 divided by 2. Then you can type it into your calculator if you need to. In this case, we don't. It's going to be 2. Don't do this. Okay, so now what I know is that where x is 2, my vertex is going to fall along this line somewhere. That's my axis of symmetry. Now I just need to figure out exactly where it lies. So to do that, I'm going to make a table of values. So I've got x and y. I'm going to give myself a few rows. I like to put the vertex right in the middle, so I'm going to put that right in the center, and this will be my vertex. And now all I have to do is plug this into my original equation, which is really pretty simple. So I think I'll do this one in my head. I have to do x squared minus 4 times x. So here that means 2 squared minus 4 times 2. So that's going to be 4 minus 8, which is negative 4. So when x is 2, y is negative 4. And I know that to be my vertex. So there's my vertex. Now, what I could do, since a is an integer, I can kind of go forwards and I can go backwards, and I can plug these numbers in as well and see where they land. And I might do that, but I also am going to use the fact that the stretch is 1 to really quickly figure out where 2 more points go. If the stretch is 1, I know I'm going to have these points 1 above the vertex. So that means that where x is 1, y is negative 3. And this will also be a negative 3 because of the symmetry. And then plugging in a 0 is really simple here. So if I plug in a 0, I'm going to have 0 squared minus 4 times 0, which is just going to be 0. So that's easy. And that will be a 0 as well. And there's my parabola. Work smart, right? If you can find these points without doing a lot of math, that's what you should do. All right, now let's write this in vertex form. So if we know the vertex, which we do, and we know the stretch, which we do, we can write this in vertex form. So that would be y equals the stretch, parentheses, x. X is lies, so we're going to go minus 2, don't forget your squared, minus 4. That's vertex form. We don't need this 1 here, but we can put it if we want to. So pause the video if you need to get all this down. Feel free to rewatch it if that's helpful for you. And then when you're ready, move on to example 2. All right. Example 2 looks a little scarier because we have this fraction, but we can handle it. First step, A equals, B equals, C equals. Go ahead and pause the video right now and fill these out on your own. Press play when you're ready. A is 1/3, B is 2, C is 1. Now we find the vertex. So we're going to use our vertex formula. X equals the opposite of whatever B is over 2 times whatever A is. I'd like you to go ahead and plug everything in and see if you can figure out what this equals, and then press play when you're ready to see if you got it right. Okay, so to plug this in, I'm going to do the opposite of 2, which is -2, and I have to divide that by 2 times 1/3. Now we have a few options here. If you can do this without a calculator, that's awesome, and you should. But today I'm going to just use a calculator. So I've got my Desmos scientific calculator here, and what I'm going to do is simplify the bottom first. So I'm going to do 2 times 1/3, and that's going to give me kind of a gross fraction. That's okay. What I want to do is 2 divided by that number, so sorry, -2. So I'm going to now take this -2 and divide it by what the bottom equals. And on calculators, you can just type in, on the Desmos calculator, if you type ANS, it'll just plop in your answer. So this equals -3. So all of that equals -3. If you want to do it in one step, you can. You would do -2 divided by, and I don't like how it puts the negative in a different spot, so I'm going to fix that. And then you just need to make sure that you use parentheses, or that you somehow make sure that the entire thing goes in the bottom. So as long as this looks like this, then you're good to go. -3. Okay, so we're back here. This equals -3. And so now I know that my axis of symmetry is going to be along here, where x equals -3. And now I'm going to plug stuff in. So I'm going to create a table of values, x, y. I have to be a little more careful here because of the fraction. I'm going to go ahead and put the -3 right in the center, and I want to know what the vertex is now. And so to do that again, I'm going to pull my calculator over because I have this fraction which can be a little bit tricky. So pull the calculator over, and I'm going to type in, this is just the Desmos scientific calculator, I'm going to type in the whole function, so 1/3, but when I get to the x, I'm going to put my -3 there in the parentheses. Make sure you do that or your calculator will give you the wrong answer. And then I'm going to do +2 times -3 plus 1, -2. Okay, so that means that when x is -3, y is -2. So coming back here, -2, that's my vertex. So I'll go ahead and plot that point. Okay. And now I know that the stretch is 1/3. Now, when we were doing other kinds of functions, we could go up 1 and right 3. That will not work here. So we have to be pretty thoughtful about what numbers we choose for x, because I want nice values that I can easily plot. And so the trick is to jump by the denominator in the fraction. So I'm going to go up 3 and up 3 more, and then I'm going to go back 3 and back 3 more. And I'm going to plug these values into my original function. So I'm going to pull over my calculator again. And just a little trick, I'm actually going to just replace this -3 with a -6. I don't have to do a whole lot of work. So when x is -6, y is a nice whole number. It's just 1. So I'll put the 1 here. And I know because of symmetry that there's going to be a 1 there as well. So I don't have to plug it in again. And then I'm going to go ahead and replace this -6, both of them, with a -9. And I find that when x is -9, y is 10. So that will be my last values. This is going to be a 10 and a 10. Now those aren't going to fit on the graph. That's okay. I'm going to get at least these on the graph. And then I'm going to make sure that I make it look like a U. So it's a little bit wider because the stretch is 1/3. And there it is. Now in vertex form, all I need is the vertex and the stretch. So I've got y equals 1/3 parentheses x is live, plus 3 squared minus 2. There it is. At this point, there are 3 more problems for you to try, so I'd like you to go ahead and do all 3 of them now, and then when you're done, press play and I'll go over the answers. So at this point, go ahead and do the practice problems. Okay, here is the answer to problem 1. Go ahead and pause the video right now and check your work. If you made a mistake, see if you can figure out what went wrong. And the vertex form here would be y equals -2 x plus 3 squared plus 6. So go ahead and pause, and then when you're ready, move on. Okay, this is number 2. The vertex form would be y equals 1/2 x plus 2 squared minus 2. So once again, check all this over and look for your mistakes if you made any mistakes, and when you're ready, move on. All right, last problem. The vertex form would be y equals -1 x plus 1 squared plus 4. Check your answers, find your mistakes, and then when you're done with these notes, go ahead and hop on the Desmos activity for today.